Husband developed feelings for an online gamer. I forgave him, but now he wants an open marriage. I'm in a complex situation with my husband, who I've been married to for 4 years and together with for 12. After years of financial struggles, we finally bought a house and were planning to have kids. But a few months ago, my husband got sick and started staying home. He picked up an online game and began having weekly sessions with a group, which included a girl around 30. Long story short, he developed feelings for her. About a month ago, he broke down and confessed, saying it happened gradually until he didn't realize how deep it was. They began texting privately, then moved to one-on-one calls. She eventually told him she loved him, and he felt the same, although he insisted it was impossible to pursue. They tried to remain just friends, but their connection grew, leading to some intimate texting. When he finally came clean to me, he was very emotional, apologizing profusely and claiming he couldn't control his feelings. Despite everything, he assured me that he would choose me. I was understandably hurt and needed some time to think, so I stayed with a friend that night. After reflecting, I chose to forgive him, appreciating his honesty and the guilt he felt. We had deep conversations about our relationship. I accepted that he could have feelings for someone else, but I made it clear I didn't like how he handled it. Then, just yesterday, he proposed the idea of opening our marriage to polyamory. He said he wanted to stay with me and still have kids but couldn't ignore his feelings for her. He suggested we both see other people with clear boundaries and communication. To be honest, this made me uncomfortable at first. I know a few friends who are poly, but it's not something I ever considered for us. I'm trying to process it all, and I'd appreciate any thoughts or advice. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for your comments. They really help me see some tough but necessary truths. I took some time to think things over and had several long talks with my husband. Before deciding anything, I wanted to confront him about some details. The other girl wanted to meet him, but they never did, mostly because she lives far away and he refused. I also got tested for STDs and thankfully I'm clean. Our poly friends were the ones who suggested this route to him, and I've decided to distance myself from them for now. I told him that while I appreciated his honesty about his infidelity, it still felt like a betrayal. I shared what many of you said, that turning this situation into polyamory felt like justifying his affair. Polyamory should be rooted in mutual trust, which he had already broken. This realization hit him hard. He knew deep down that he was being selfish. He cut off contact with the other girl and has given me full access to his devices. He wants to go to counseling to rebuild our relationship. Since then, he's been showing me a lot of affection, though he admits some of it stems from guilt. Now, I want to make this work, but I'm grappling with whether I'm just falling into a sunk cost fallacy. Our first counseling session is in 2 months, and my feelings change daily. Just yesterday, I thought about leaving him, but today, I'm considering giving it another shot. We have a deep understanding of each other and a lot of shared history. He's been there for me in tough times, and he's taking responsibility for his actions. But starting over would mean finding a new place and diving back into the dating scene. It's a lot to weigh. I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. For the first time in 12 years, I'm facing the possibility of losing everything, and it's both terrifying and confusing. Am I too old to be going through this? Yet, I know denying my feelings won't help. No matter how much I want to rebuild trust, I can't forget what happened. I truly believe he feels remorse. But is it too late? His presence doesn't erase the pain. I've been questioning whether I want to stay out of genuine belief in our relationship, or just because asking for a divorce feels like too much. It's like I'm trapped in some codependency. I can see both paths clearly, but it's tearing me apart. I'm more lost now than when I last shared my feelings. I've been losing sleep and my appetite, and nothing seems enjoyable anymore. I've decided to book an appointment with a psychologist to help me navigate this. I know I'm rambling, but I'm realizing that the decision is ultimately mine to make. The emotional turmoil makes it hard to think clearly about what's best for me. I'll continue with therapy and see where that leads me. I appreciate all the support, and I'll try to update when I can. Just to clarify some things I didn't mention earlier, he cut off contact with the other woman after she found out he was married, and that led to some of his emotional struggles since. We've had a close relationship. He's my first and only partner. We grew up together and shared a lot, but I think we fell into a routine that made him restless. During our arguments, he admitted he craved the attention she gave him and felt like I wasn't showing him love anymore. While I can acknowledge my own faults, I was also taking care of him while he was sick. It's hard not to question whether I was a good partner, even though I know I'm not responsible for his choices. Thank you for listening. It's a lot to process, and your support means a lot. Update. A lot has happened since I last wrote. My soon-to-be ex-husband had an emotional affair and asked for an open marriage, which I refused. After that, his affair partner ended things and he begged me to reconcile. I agreed, while secretly preparing my exit. We both went to individual therapy, but despite separating temporarily a few times, each return felt worse. He became desperate, crossing my boundaries and even threatening self-harm if I left. This experience opened my eyes to the reality that I was in an emotionally abusive relationship. I had no idea that his behavior over the years, manipulation, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, counted as abuse. It was subtle and built over time, turning me into a submissive partner. His emotional affair was just a continuation of this pattern. The more I tried to distance myself, the more manipulative he became. Now that I recognize what he's been doing, I know I need to fight against years of conditioning. It's a lot to take in, but I'm determined to find a healthier path for myself. Recognizing what's happening and making the decision to succeed is honestly so exhausting and disorienting. Earlier today, I decided to bring a friend home for some support. The three of us sat down together, and I took a deep breath and told my husband it was over. I handed him the papers, and while it might sound silly, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I was terrified. He kept asking if I was sure, reminding me of the family we had dreamed of and all our best memories. Was it all for nothing? Apparently, yes. He was heartbroken, clearly angry and frustrated, but in the end, he agreed and signed the papers before heading back to his parents' house. Now, we have to deal with the whole process of separating our assets and figuring out what to do with the house. He still wants us to go to marriage counseling, but right now, I finally feel free for the first time in months. The last few hours have been a roller coaster of tears, celebration, and a much-needed restful sleep. I really have to thank everyone because my first post was the wake-up call I needed to get here. Better late than never, right? As for my husband, he's a special kind of frustrating. After everything that happened, he still has this charm that makes people think he's a good guy who just lost his way for a bit. It's tough to accept that someone we love can be capable of such terrible actions. You've been through a long, hard journey, and it'll take time. But investing in your own health and happiness is what matters most now. Keep practicing self-care, stay safe, and take your time to heal so you can be ready for true love when it comes. You've got this. Thanks. I'm doing my best. I like to think the hardest part is behind me, but I've learned to expect the unexpected. From now on, it's all about me. I deserve love and happiness, and I'm ready to fight for it. Now, on to the next story. So, our best friends recently revealed they're into swinging during a drunken night, and it made me really uncomfortable, even though my husband seemed intrigued. He thinks I was rude to them over the weekend, but I felt like I was just being honest while they were being inappropriate. We've been married for 13 years, both in our early 40s with 2 amazing preteen kids. We were college sweethearts, and he's the only person I've ever been with. We have a great life together. Last week, my husband's childhood friends, John and Leah, came over for a visit with their kids, as they do every summer. The kids get along well, so it's usually fun. One night after the kids were asleep, Leah and John suggested we all relax in the hot tub and have some drinks. I'm not much of a drinker, so I was just sipping wine while the others were getting pretty tipsy. Leah brought up their sex life, mentioning how it had slowed down when the kids were younger, but now they were rediscovering their spark. Then, John casually dropped that they've been exploring the swinging lifestyle and how incredible it's been for them. My husband, who was a bit drunk, chimed in that we had never lost our spark and everything was great for us. I was just sitting there feeling really uncomfortable while they chatted. Leah then asked if we'd ever thought about swinging or an open relationship since we both got together young. My husband had some girlfriends before we met, but I've never been with anyone else. Leah pressed me, asking if I ever felt like I missed out. I told her I didn't, because to me, being with my husband felt like winning the lottery. Why would I regret not picking the wrong numbers? John kept encouraging my husband to consider swinging, sharing how it can add excitement to a marriage. My husband seemed interested, asking a lot of questions. But when Leah asked me if I'd ever consider it, I felt really uncomfortable. I wanted to shut down the conversation completely and told her there was no way I could imagine another man touching me like that. Honestly, I probably wouldn't even stay in the relationship if that happened. I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed about a recent conversation I had with my husband, Mike, and our friends, Leah and John. During a weekend trip, Leah asked me if I'd ever consider an open relationship like theirs. I shut her down pretty quickly, explaining that even if my husband was okay with it, having another man touch me would feel like cheating. I made it clear that I'm satisfied with Mike's love and don't seek attention from other guys. That seemed to end the conversation, and thankfully, John switched topics. After they left, though, Mike brought up that he thought I was being judgmental towards Leah and John. He felt I should have been more accepting of their lifestyle and not implied that Leah was seeking attention from other men. I stood my ground, saying that I felt uncomfortable with their lifestyle being pushed onto us. I also felt that Mike should have shut the conversation down right away instead of asking for more details. Fast forward to August 13th, 2024. After reading many responses, I realized I had missed a lot. Last night I brought it up with Mike again. I wanted to understand why he wasn't upset with Leah for her comments, especially since they made me uncomfortable. He explained that just because we don't agree with someone's choices doesn't mean we should judge them. He acknowledged that while I was right to stand up for myself, my comparison to cheating wasn't fair. He then shared that Leah and John had gone through a rough patch last year, which led them to consider swinging as a way to reconnect. It turns out Leah was curious about me because I've never even kissed another man. Mike admitted he was upset with how I handled the situation and felt that John might be hurt because of my comments. I pressed him on how he knew all this, and he revealed that John had confided in him about their struggles. But he hadn't mentioned it to me because it was their secret. I started replaying the night in my head. Mike, John, and Leah were drinking, and while Mike was trying to get me to try his drink, I stuck to wine. They decided to get into the hot tub in their underwear, and although I felt fine in my t-shirt, that's when the conversation about swinging came up. Leah kept trying to convince me to be more open about sleeping with other men, which made me wonder if they were trying to recruit us into their lifestyle. What frustrated me even more was that Mike had known about Leah's interest in an open relationship before our trip. He laughed it off when she brought it up, thinking it was a joke. I couldn't believe he didn't tell me Leah had directly asked him about the possibility of being with him. It all felt like a betrayal, and now I'm left sorting through a lot of mixed emotions. I spent the whole weekend playing the perfect host, but then a woman I really don't think was joking asked my husband if he wanted to sleep with her. I was furious and ended up sleeping on the sofa. Mike kept apologizing, saying he didn't want to out Leah and John to me because he thought it was private. But honestly, I feel like Mike's behavior was inappropriate too. He tried to get me undressed and drunk in front of people I don't even know. I'm not sure what to do next. I think it's clear that I won't be around Leah and John again, but I'm feeling more hurt by Mike's actions, and I'm struggling with how to move forward.